Tommy was saying, like, whenever he would ride to the towns with Corny would be talking to him about the show and giving him pointers and all this good stuff. And he said whenever he was riding around with Tim, all Tim did was bitch about Jim, bitch about Cornette the whole time. Bitch, 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 about everything. In your experiences, was Tim like that around you in the back whenever Jimmy wasn't around?
You know, I wrote a little bit. No, I'm stumbling my words for the simple fact I put Tim over in my second book, because he was a part of Smoky Mountain while I was there. But the fact of the matter is very simple, and that's this. Tim around me was completely professional. We did a 3-day run where 3 or 4 days where we done baby face, birth baby face, and then a battle royal where the short sided card, up in some spot towns or whatever. But for the most part, and when you go back to that junior heavyweight title, I think in the back, Tim kind of tried to make himself to the younger guys feel or appear to be more important and have more in the booking than he did. And I recall him saying when I came in with that junior title to kind of verify the story we was talking about earlier where I said, I don't know nothing. He approached me, shook my hand and said, I told you we like you here. He always put me over, was always professional around me. But to answer your question straight up, there was a lot that I heard. And Tim was very fucking negative towards Jimmy, towards the booking, and toward a lot of things that were taking place, but not to me personally. He always would give me shit, from the maybe it's why I didn't make money, but I got shirts and sweatshirts and hats, and he was, he was always very generous to me, as one of the boys, and tried to come across maybe that he had more pull with the office than he did. So I only treat people, the way they treat me. So I'm not going to browbeat him here on your show. To try to get people to take his side, your side, my side, or whatever. The bottom line is he was always very courteous and very professional to me and treated me very respectful. But from hearing him, there was a lot of negativity and a lot of shit he didn't approve of in his mind, because I think he really thought, he had a lot more weight to pull than what he did. And that's not a dig towards him. I just think he thought he had a larger part or a larger role to play in Smoky Mountain than what he actually did. And that's the way he tried to come across when he voiced his opinion, whether it be in front of me or to another performer like Dirty White Boy or to Kyle, all those guys being from that area, So what Tommy told you is probably the straight shoot. I didn't ride up either one of them. And I would imagine that if he was riding with Cornette was probably giving nothing but positive and good input as to what Tommy should do for the shows. And if he was riding with Tim was probably doing nothing but putting Jimmy down. That's going by what you just now said. I didn't ride up any of them. Fuck them. I don't give a fuck. Happened 25 fucking years ago, and Tim treated me with respect, but I worked for Jim Cornette, and I'm a Jim Cornette guy. So, I was there when he blew up eventually. I was there when Tim quit. I worked for Tim on a couple independent shows after SMW shut down, et cetera. So I always kept my shit together professionally and personally with them both. But if it come down to it, I think Tim really just was very negative in the back about any fucking thing being said or done. That he really thought, he was the fucking sheriff. He ran things. He should be the top baby face. He should be number fucking one. He should be the champion. But I could turn around and say the same thing about White Boy as well, to be honest with you. They both from that area, Knoxville and Morristown, and they thought that fucking title was theirs. And then fucking it wasn't. It was Jim Cornette's promotion. He had a backer, and he put the title on, and people he thought fucking deserved it, myself included. I didn't beat anyone. I fucking got written in. This is what's going to happen. And that's the way it happens. And like Cornette's always said, something about Tim, I guess he would be the fucking superstar's best fucking friend. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Tommy,
Tommy Noe told me that, I don't know if Tim has admitted this now, but Tommy said, look, I think Tim had, illusions of grandeur, that he was, could be more than what he was, and he probably can admit that now. I think that's what he told me. I may be misquoting him. If I am, I
Yeah.
apologize. But the thing is, like, I think we all live a little longer, and we all kind of eventually grow, and we
Yeah,
can
as you
look back
get
at certain
older, you
things,
grow
and
more mature.
yeah, and you start thinking, maybe then you can
I
see things a
think
little bit
that,
more real.
well, I hope he has. I know I do. But the thing about that is like this. To give you a couple of examples, when I was back at wrestling school, there was a guy named Henry, and he's about 230 pounds, about 5'10" to 6 foot. No big giant by any means. But Malenko looked over one day and tried to tell the kid, and he's a young guy, when I say kid. He said, Henry, you're not 6'5" and 300 pounds. You're like 5'10" and 230 pounds. Sell like that, work like that, etc. Because the guy had this illusions of being a grand champion or whatever. And I think that's kind of was the word around the locker room once I got to Smoky Mountain, that was kind of Tim Horner. Tim would fire up and fight back like he's fucking Hulk Hogan when he, 5'10", 5'11", 220, 230 pounds, good physique and all that, and could work his ass off. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of respect for him that way, but he wasn't the fucking Hulk Hogan of the fucking territory. So when you fired up and you threw your lightning bolts and those things out there, and it's not a dig towards Tim. I'm just saying, you had those illusions, that, I am bigger and better than what I am when you're not, and we all get caught up in that.
Yep.
My best example is I was working as a heel for Bobby Fulton way back when. I still work for Smoky Mountain, and I was with the Batten Twins and some other guys, some heels, blah, blah, blah. And I said, if I ever believe my own fucking that I'm a true babyface, and I ever believe my own fucking headlines kick my ass, because it's a fucking work, And they said, you got it, Bobby. And it was the Batten Twins. They worked for ICW, back in the day. So I never let that get to my head that, hey, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to do a job. Pin me, pay me. I think at that point, Horner maybe thought, he was a bigger star than he was. He thought he was bigger than he was on a national, maybe even an international level than he was to be working for Smoky Mountain. And as we know, and as you stated, with time, given maturity, and looking back and reflecting back on your career, you realize, maybe I wasn't as big a star as I thought I was, or as big a champion as I thought I was, or maybe it all meant nothing. Then it meant something, but now it really doesn't mean anything because everyone knows it's a fucking work. But at that particular time, people believed in it, and you had to make those people believe in you, so you would step up and be bigger and better. And you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? You want to believe your hype and your headlines, but deep down, the hype and headlines, you're like, you know what, Mike, if I start believing this shit, just kick me in the ass and say, listen, motherfucker, get your head out of your ass. This will fucking work. Get out there and do your job. And I said, yes, sir, boss. Boom, pin me, pay me. I'm going to do my fucking job because you're right.
I
don't know that Tim got that memo back then.